This is the inspection report for 902 Sunny Slope, Allen, Texas. The inspection was carried out by Yellow Hat Home Inspections on the 13th of August 2010. The inspector was Mark Elliott, license number 9222. I'm going to step through the inspection report very quickly. The intention here is just to give you a verbal presentation of what I found rather than written word, and give a bit more explanation than perhaps is given in the report, because it tends to be a little stark with just straight words describing conditions. The foundation and around the foundation on both the right and left elevations is showing a lot of erosion, and you can see in the photograph here the erosion, and this arrow is pointed to a gap in underneath the foundation where water can get under the footings. My recommendation is for the ground around the foundation on the right and left elevation to be filled in this area here. You want it to come about 4 inches from the top of the foundation. That can prevent foundation damage in the future. The foundation itself has shown some heave. We've got a rise in the foundation at one point of 1.5 inches. This heave is at the rear right elevation, and it's due to a number of factors, not least of which I think the very dry conditions that we've had recently, and of course the lack of good grade around the actual building. Again, this is something that's quite common within Texas, and it shows the importance of keeping the foundation and the ground around the foundation moist. The grading around the building doesn't come up to modern standards, but that's not surprising. It was built in the 70s, and in those days the grading and the slopes required for drainage around a building were not the same as they are today. On all the elevations, the grade either slopes towards the building as it does at the front, or slopes away at the back, but on the right and left elevation it's essentially flat. Again, if you rebuild the grade as I'm recommending, you will actually remove some of that as a problem and improve the drainage of the actual ground around the building. Here's a small illustration which talks about the amount the grading should drop. Again, this is for modern standards. This is not for the building as it is at the moment. It's just an as-is situation. But you need to be aware of the fact that things have changed, and it's not the way you would have of a modern house. Having said that, every house around this building is exactly the same. There's some notes in the report about foundation maintenance. I recommend you read it and implement some of the suggestions. The roof is in good condition, although aged. The penetrations of the roof are all caulked, and overall, although the roof is showing its age, it is waterproof as far as I can determine on the day of the inspection. The attic, however, has insufficient ventilation. There's only one ventilator on the roof itself, on the top of the roof. The other ventilation comes from soffit vents which run down the rake of the roof at both gable ends, and I recommend putting in some extra vents on the roof itself. That will improve the conditions inside the attic, allow it to breathe more, and hopefully keep the house a little bit cooler in summer. The insulation within the building is not up to standard. It's about 4.5 inches, which was typical when the house was built. It would be well worth actually building up that insulation to modern standards. And finally, on the gutter, on the roof itself, it doesn't have a guttering system. That's to be recommended. Guttering is quite important. It removes water from the roof to the ground and then away from the foundation when it's installed properly. There are cracks in the veneer bricks around the building, not uncommon. It's all part of the settlement. This is a picture showing a crack that's running down the wall at the rear elevation to the left of the air conditioning compressor. But you know, I see much worse cracks than that. Monitor it, look at it, but you know, it's a crack, but it's common, and it's not likely to increase in size if you install soaker hoses, as I've recommended to you when we met, in and around the foundation to support the foundation and keep the ground moist. There is a door in the master bedroom. This is the bathroom door, and there's a crack running up here. There's a crack here, and there's a slight outer square of the door. Again, that's caused by the movement. I would suggest you leave it as it is until you've started to increase the hydration levels around the foundation, and that way you can then fix the door if it doesn't come back to square. However, you might find it will actually come back into square itself. The windows all the way around the building require caulking. You'll see in the video where we talk about the windows, and the problem is that if they're left without being caulked, you're going to get water in between the walls, and that can cause all sorts of problems. So highly recommended that you get those windows recaulked. Notice we got an incorrect checkbox here. That should actually be not inspected and not present. Let's just change that. The fireplace in good order. It's just a wood burning fireplace, metal chimney, chimney cap, chimney's intact. All looks well with the chimney. Now, an electrical system is fine, apart from one thing. I couldn't identify where the grounding bar is. I recommend that you consult a certified electrician or install an additional grounding bar. It wouldn't do any harm. Just drive one into the ground, and then you know you've got a good ground to the electrical system. Around the house you have 1 or 2 points with the branch circuitry. Ceiling lights are missing from bedrooms, not uncommon with a house of this age. And there's open grounds in the kitchen at the side of the sink. Also have to tell you that it doesn't have arc fault detectors. This is very common with this type of property. They were only introduced in 2003, so if you do some electrical work, it would be well worth installing arc fault detectors. They will protect the building from fire. In the garage itself, there's an improper use of extension cords, and there's some open electrical wiring which could be dangerous, so I recommend you have that fixed as soon as possible. The heating system, I couldn't run the heating system. I turned it on and I couldn't get it to work. I believe that the heating system is a heat pump. Now, heat pumps will not work effectively when the temperature outside exceeds 80 degrees, and it was over 100 degrees when I was trying to get it to run. Now, I didn't take anything apart with the air conditioning system for a reason I'll tell you a bit more later, but the problem with it is I couldn't test the electrical heating system effectively. And so you might like to actually have an air conditioning engineer and consult with him about the type of system to establish whether it's a heat pump system or not. As I say, the labelling on it didn't indicate that. The cooling system worked okay, apart from the bedroom. It wasn't quite so good in the bedroom as I would like it. The drop there was 13 degrees. Everywhere else the drop was round about 15 to 19 degrees, so it had a good drop. The plumbing is fine. The water meter is located at the curb. There's a cut-off valve there too, and the static water pressure was 80 psi. The drains and everything are fine. They all ran well, but there's a broken cap on the clear out located at the front left elevation, and the actual pipes themselves, the sewer pipes, are cast iron. The water heater is relatively new. The only point with it is it doesn't have a safety pan. All of the appliances, which was the dishwasher, the food disposal, and the cooker, the cook range, all ran perfectly. The cooker itself is electric, and as well as the electric, the oven, I set the oven temperature at 350, and you'll see from the video we get 344 in heating, so it's good. It's quite accurate actually. It's allowed to be plus or minus 25 degrees, which is a heck of a range, and actually it's quite close to the required temperature. There's no microwave, no trash compactor. The mechanical vents in the bathrooms worked. The garage door didn't have an opener on it, and I couldn't open the garage door. It's locked. The doorbell works, and there's no sprinkler system. Pretty obvious, really, as I was going on about installing soaker hoses around the building. So in summary, the house is in is good condition for its age. The things I found are not uncommon. The things to address really will be between you and your realtor. I highly recommend you go through the report, you look at the videos, you read the report as well as listening to this presentation, and follow the advice of your realtor on what you should do next. If you've got any questions, do not hesitate to call me. It's Mark Elliott, Yellow Hat Home Inspections. You can get me on 972 832 3460, or you can email me mark.elliott@yellowhatinspections.com. Thank you very much for going through this video and listening to the presentation. I do hope you're happy with your new home, and please do not hesitate to call me if you have questions.